Yeah, 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 yeah. You're now tuned into the one and only place where you can get what's needed on your plate along with what's going on in your hood. Candy Lady's gonna keep you up to date with events going on round your way. What's really good? SC by Black locally. Keep them dollars circulating in your own community. It's the SCBBL show. You're now tuned into the SCBBL show. Rock, rock, rock on. Rock, 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 rock on.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the SCBBL show, our Mondays with Moms, episode number 2, with my girlfriend, Tish Fields from North Carolina. Hi, Tish. How are you?
I'm good, Candace. Good to be here.
Awesome. So Tish and I met, I think it was SC Dollars Matters. I made a post asking about like youth organizations or something, and we kind of like just started talking from there. And I got to learn more about her journey in the education realm. And we spent about an hour or so talking, and we just like really hit it off. So I'm going to allow Tish to introduce herself and tell you guys a little bit more about some of her experience in the education field before we get into the homeschool part.
Amen. Well, thank you very much for having me. It is a privilege to be able to come and talk to moms like ourselves, and to get information in general. As you mentioned, I am an educator. I am currently enrolled in my PhD in curriculum and innovation. My goal at this point, after everything that I've come through, is to create curriculum that fits our community. My heart is basically geared towards making sure that our kids get as educated as they possibly can to the fullest capacity, because we're capable of giving them the resources, the tools, the information, the insight that they need to get to the path that they're going to.
Right.
So our theme is comprehensive education from cradle to career. So we are looking to educate kids from the time that they're small, making sure that they don't have barriers to access to things, and everything that we can give them to support them all the way up into their career on any angle that we can, from skill building in grade school, SAT prep when they're in high school, things of that nature, financial literacy, leadership courses. There's so much that they have access to within our program that we want to, and we just want to utilize those tools to make sure they get to their expected end. I started as a homeschooling mom.
Okay.
Over 20 something years ago. I got my guys in college now. But I started out as a homeschooling mom, started a daycare center. It just then I worked in the school district. I ultimately ended up at the university, and just so many stops along the way helped me to see a lot of gaps. My husband works in the finance industry, and so I joined him in that path, and there was so much that I learned in finance that I brought to the classroom. And ultimately it became curriculum. The college actually handed us a class one day. They said, listen, create a class and just help to prepare our freshmen for life. And so we had to literally create curriculum from scratch. And we thought about all the areas that we feel like young adults need to know about life, about finances, about education, about even relationships, everything we could. And we packaged it in this course. And it ultimately became a community fair to help young people get on track quickly, and end up into their career path without wasting any time. So for us, it was a journey. It was a journey of different pit stops that have ultimately brought us to this point. The last venture I went into was a community center. In the community center, what we did, and we're still that community center right now, what we do is we offer early intervention services to pre-K students. So if you have a pre-K student, we make sure that our kindergartners, our pre-K students are ready for kindergarten. So our push is kindergarten readiness, early literacy. My biggest goal is I want to make sure that your little one is reading before they enter kindergarten. Right. And it is possible, and it's doable. And unfortunately, our education system has changed a lot. And so that's not really fostered. So we really want to make sure that they are literate and that they have the basic skills that it takes to be a successful kindergartner when they get to school. And then while they're in grade school, we simply support them on the basics that they need. I had so many kids that were a part of the school district that ended up back at my center because they didn't have basic skills. They couldn't really add well. They couldn't subtract well. They didn't know multiplication well. Just little simple things. And the schools were, I guess, in essence, very busy or too busy to handle that. So we got a lot of kids that were slipping through the cracks, and we just tried to make sure we shored up those skills that they needed, those basic skills. High school, that part of our center, the tutoring part of our center, I found that high schools weren't preparing students as well as I feel that they could have. You had kids, you're in high school, even with, especially with athletics, you know, and I'm not going to go too deep into that, but they're on that field, they're running, but we're not really making sure that that their grades are on point, that they're prepared for the SAT, ACT. We're not, the schools, in my opinion, I'm going to leave that there, but I don't feel like they were really prepared. Some of them didn't even know the SAT was coming. Some of them didn't know when is the ACT? What is the ACT? You know, and that struck me. And I'm like, that shouldn't be, because other communities were preparing their kids way ahead of time. They had the resources to do that. And so it became a burden of ours. And we said, you know, we're going to eliminate the financial barrier. And we went into our own pockets, and we did our best to supply that kind of access to those kids. And then there's college. We do have a college.
You said that you have a college student right now, right? You have a grad.
Yes. So he's a junior now.
Okay.
So he's a junior now, and I think when I was at the college, and I'm gonna be ginger about this, I sat in classrooms and students were not even prepared to be there. Yes. I had students who had issues writing essays. I had students who there were so many deficits, and it broke my heart. And I'm like, there's no way you're not leaving this classroom like that. And so we did whatever we could to pour into them. Many of them didn't know what their majors were. They didn't know where they were headed. They didn't have just a clue about some things. Now you had some that did, but the majority did not. And so we just wanted to set them on a course. Listen, you're here in these 4 years. We want you to think about where you're going. We want when you come out of here that you're able to eat and sustain and support yourself. So we need you to pick a lucrative career that's going to make sure you can feed yourself. And we put real life on their table. We were like, this is what life is going to be. You're going to have to pay these. We let them pay bills. We gave them checks. We did you did the taxes, did the whole. It was great. I mean, it was so funny, you know, because some of them, you know, where initially they may have been like, well, I need to get my hair done. I need to get this. I need to get that. So yes, but when they looked at the numbers, I had some like, I see, we don't need cell phones, so we don't need this. I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, we had a ball. I really enjoyed working with, you know, these young people and just helping them to see that, one, you don't want to waste any time when you're in school. Two, you need to get your eyes on a goal. And now even more so than ever, with society changing as rapidly as it is, you look at I would say many of our communities who haven't had much exposure to technology, STEM, coding, robotics, and our world is headed fully virtual, fully tech ready, and our kids haven't had exposure, usually due to a financial barrier, just these barriers to access. And I know from experience, I remember when my kids were coming up, I wanted them in engineering camps and robotic camps, and it was like $1,300 a week. I was like, this is for 5 days? but I wanted them involved, you know, and yeah, you know, we were in a decent place, so to speak, but the point is, who really can gain access to that, you know? So I didn't want them left out. So our program now, we have put things in place to allow kids to gain access to so many different things. Like I said, from financial literacy to leadership courses. Leadership courses, and anything that we feel like that. One of my biggest things I said, especially in the summertime, I said, as young people, you guys are home.
Yeah.
When the summer's over, I want you to come out with a language, speaking another language, because you have time, and to learn to play an instrument because you have time. So that meaning,
yeah. So I was thinking about this a lot lately too. Do you have any suggestions for in a summer, time span? What is a good resource for teaching them another language? Like,
man. So me, I adore Spanish. I've always grown up loving Spanish, and I always use a two-sided approach. Okay. Yes, there is the book approach. I teach in stages. Everything is about stages, proficiency to mastery. So yes, there's the book standard of teaching them Spanish, but then they're already on computers. They're already spending a lot of time. There's an app that I use. You can use any other resource, but it's called Duolingo. And what it does is it allows them to use language. It's one thing to teach language. It's a whole nother ball game when you now have to put that language into practice, and you have to think about what this says, and you have to use your brain and draw from your memory. Your use of language is what will perfect language. The third stage is then immersion. So what I do is I try to pair my daughter up with someone that speaks Spanish and just let her rip, talk to her. So these three phases of, the book, interaction and use of the language, and then immersion, like just throw them in. Look, I spent a lot of time in Hispanic churches. I would have to sing for them. And a lot of times they didn't translate sometimes. So you're sitting and you have to I got that. I remember, and that helped me though. It really did help me to perfect my skills in speaking Spanish, so to speak. So I think those three things really help. And for me, like I said, with music, now your child may not necessarily be interested in an instrument. My children happen to. My son plays the piano and the drums. The other one plays the bass, and my daughter is just learning the piano. But I said, like I said, they learn Roblox, they learn Fortnite, they learn, and they'll know like the back of their hand, and anybody can challenge them. I said, listen, well, guess what? That same ability you have, come out of this summer with something different. I don't care. I got one in there. I'm like, you're going to learn digital marketing. You're going to learn such and such, because you have the time and you have the capacity. If they can learn one thing, they can learn something else. So I want their summers to be productive. Which is what I did with the college students. I said, okay, what we used to do is we used to have a trial with our college kids, and we would say, okay, you have graduated today. Here is your degree. Go find a job in your field. And they would get online and they would attempt to do the research, to try to apply. And when they would see the requirements, some of them were like shocked. They're like, oh my God, I needed experience in this. I should have had, I needed 2 years in this, and I needed, and so they realized that they need to do more preparing, because they're not the only ones graduating. You've got to make yourself in demand, so to speak, And so I had absolutely. And so I had many students that did internships. All that time you were chilling all summer. You couldn't wait for summer because you could chill. So it was amazing to see guys, girls, and they started searching for internships. I had one young lady, she was a senior. And I'll never forget this. She was a senior, and her goal was to be in the FBI. And she knew that she was going to be in the FBI, and that was her plan, and she wrote that down. But that day when she had to apply for that job, she stood up and she said, Miss Fields, I have to go to academic advisement. They require accounting, and I've been here 4 years, and I never took accounting. And she said, and I also had to be 21 to get the job. What am I going to do for 2 years? So all this information caused her to make changes. Right. And so I thank God for the research, the time they took to make the efforts to look. But it was just awesome to see them preparing for their future in a better way. And that's what we're all about. We're trying to help kids from an early age as adults in their life? How can we prepare these kids to get where they need to go?
So
How can we get them on track? Yeah.
So how will families be able to take advantage of the what you're coming up with, the curriculum that you're coming up with? Will you provide that digitally or?
Well, yes. So if you have a child that is in pre-K, our learning center is in full operation, where we do offer a pre-K program. It's 5 days a week. And you can head to the website and check that out. And like I said, it's all about literacy and kindergarten readiness. So that's all we focus on. We want, by the end of the program, your child is reading. That is our goal, and that they're ready for kindergarten, those basic skills. We also offer a homeschooling program. So because I grew up and raised my kids around a lot of homeschooling moms and co-ops, we realize, especially now, there are parents that are just stepping into that arena. Yeah. So a team of homeschooling moms have come together, and we are here to support families that are interested in starting homeschools, that if they already have homeschools and they haven't been very effective, we can give guidance to that. And if you need a partner instructor for your homeschool program, in other words, you need another teacher because that child doesn't want to look at you all day. We offer instructor sessions for you and your family through our homeschool mom program. Awesome. Yeah, and the last bit is our after school. So if you have a child that is going to be enrolled in school, but you want that extra support, we offer after school tutoring and teaching for any parent that's interested. So that's with the Learning Center. If you're a parent and you do not want your child to be in the public school virtual system and you're looking for a private option, we have a K through 12 private school, fully accredited school in full operation. The classes and courses, they offer over 80 courses to choose from. You can choose a biblical track if you want to. So you still get full core courses, full accredited courses, the same 80 options plus, but you have a biblical course pattern along with your student. And then you can choose the non-biblical track, where we do add a character course in there, because we feel like no matter how smart you are, no matter what we give you, if you don't have character, know how to deal with people, not good. So there are 2 tracks that you can choose through our K through 12 program. If you live in our state, which is North Carolina, you can apply for Opportunity Scholarship, and you can your child can go to school at no cost to you. If you apply
for you, will you be sure to add those links in the comments for the different options for your Learning Center and the K through 12 program?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the Learning Center, like I said, again, will cover pre-K, homeschool, and after school. And that link is here.
So y'all be sure to check out Tish options and see if it's a fit for you.
That is rwanc.org. And then there is ACLA. So it's AHOP Christian Leadership Academy. And that is... Yeah. So, if like I said, it's either one. If you have a pre-K student, the Learning Center is there for you. And if you have a K through 12 student, the center is there. I encourage anyone that has a high schooler. This is where, the mom comes out. If you have a high schooler and you haven't had those talks about where your child wants to be and wants to go in life, that's our thing. Our mentor, we have a mentoring program with RWA, and we have those discussions, and we connect your student with the right mentors and professionals in that field to help them get on their way as quickly as they can, and the most effective paths. I think we had a session this summer, and it did so much for me. We had a young lady, she wanted to be a physician's assistant, and she also wanted to add mental health to her practice.
So
she wanted to give comprehensive care, a more comprehensive style of care. And so what we did is we hooked her up with different people in the mental health industry. Our center is also a mental health center and health center. We offer those services too. But we got her connected to that, and it was great to see her navigate through those meetings and things like that. But what changed her is she sat with a doctor one day, and her goal was to be a physician's assistant, and the doctor gave her some insight and said, right now in this COVID situation, a lot of our PAs aren't able to work. And so she said, I want you to sit and I want you to consider why you wouldn't want to fully become a doctor. Mm-hmm. And her answer was, because it's too much school, it's too long. She's like, well, I can understand that. So she said, what about considering a nurse practitioner? She said, because with a nurse practitioner, you can still operate very similar to a doctor. You can still write scripts and you're still needed, especially in the time, when things get crazy like this. She said, you'd still be, working. And it's the same amount of time as the PA. So it was really interesting to see her rethink, so that's why it's so important to talk to people, hear your options, and then you can make a more, what's the word I'm looking for? You can make a better decision. Yeah. Absolutely. A more informed decision about what it is that you want to do. So I was so glad that
that we suffer from a lack of knowledge. Absolutely. And we have not because we ask not.
Absolutely.
Because she was connected to you, you were able to better steer her in the direction that she needed to go. And a lot of kids don't get this, even from some guidance counselors in school. Like, they just don't know. And so you choose a school based off of, well, my mom and dad went there, or my family members went there. You just don't have the right amount of information to make a better decision. So kudos to you guys for, helping her, get in touch with the right people to have that conversation.
Indeed. It was a blessing for us to see and to watch her now. She's like so excited because our mentor partner now, what we do after that meeting, we still track the students. We still, if there are events that pertain to their field, we want them to attend sessions. We want them to attend events, anything that will continue to inform them about where they're going. If there are scholarships available, we want to continue because we want to get them there. We want them to be there and turn around and say, hey, I'm here. I'm right. So that's a real joy for us. And, there's just so much more. There's so much on the horizon right now that we're getting involved in.
So right now you have one kid that's getting prepared for college. He's a junior. And then you have another kid that's in what grade?
Well, my oldest is already in college and he is a junior. And and I've got another one. He's 16. You forget when you have four of them. So he's 16. He's gonna be a junior, and the other one is he might be a sophomore, going to be a junior too. 15 and 16, and then there's the 8-year-old. So the good thing about that is we have gotten to experience every stage of education. We've seen the public school, we've seen the private school. Because we sent our son to private school, and what I think I loved about the different experiences, we got to see how different entities educate kids in different ways. I'm from New York. I'm from New York originally, and the school system, I remember the buildings, I remember everything. And then I came here to where I live, and the neighborhood is a little different, a little more affluent, but it's amazing how they educate some versus another. And it's something to think about. My first grader was doing research papers in the first grade. And when I saw the teacher pull out his research paper, I was like, where is he going with that? He knew how to go to the library, look up everything. He's 6. Look up everything. But this was all about what the school chose to pour into them. Right. So, and that's what I want parents to kind of take home, is that you have the ability to equip your child right now. Yep. You have the ability to resource them, and it doesn't matter what age they are. because I was around this. I watched these 6-year-olds go to the library, pull out their book, look at the sheet was guided. It'll say, you know, put facts about the animal and put what color, you know, it guided them. But they still at 6 were able to read and comprehend and get the info. I just sat there dumbfounded. I'm like, oh, look at you.
It's training their mind to the things that you look for. And then the higher you increase your grade and they put you out on your own, then it's like, okay, now you knew back then, you know, what to look for. So when they grow up, when it's time for them to write a paper, they know how to find the information that they need.
Absolutely. And we offer that now because that's like a big thing, you know, the ability to write well, write an essay. When they get to college, they're going to have to learn MLA and APA and all those things. When I was in 11th grade, they didn't really teach us that well. So I kind of went into college having to navigate and get the paper writing thing. And I said, this is not going to be with the next generation. We can't do that. You know, it's not fair to them because then they're left stuck and not really knowing how to write. So we try to make sure that we prep them in writing, teach them the rules of writing, teach them MLA, teach them APA, teach them what we know they're going to run smack into when they get to these universities. So we have the time and we have this moment to capture and really look at our children and say, what can we do to support them? Who are they? What do they want to do? How do we get them there to do that? I have my middle son, you know, my husband had a course for him because, you know, my husband loves football. He's a football coach. We've got a sport program. I didn't tell you. We have two programs. And he's built like an ox. So my husband's like, oh, yeah, you're going to be on the field, you know? His nature, you know, he in his nature he's just not that kind of, he loves computer science. He loves software engineering. He loves art. He loves to cook, you know? And so we had to really sit down and say, you know, what are your strengths? You know, what is it that you like? You know, and we had to like navigate that together. And ultimately, he's going into coding. He's going into computer software. And it's a lucrative field. Do you understand? And so, and he loves anime. So I said, guess what? You can do what you need to do so that you can do what you want to do. Go ahead and get this training and do those things in that way. And guess what? You'll have more freedom to get into animation and all the things that you want to do. So it's really about talking to them and having these initial talks as parents. So, you know, our job as mom and dad, you know, we just want to look at our children and say, how can we do our best to make sure they don't have the same pitfalls that we had as much as we can. Yeah, we know kids have to kind of walk their own walk, but what they don't unnecessarily have to deal with, let's pave a way for them. Let's get those doors open for them.
So 2 things I want to touch on. How has your son been dealing with college from being a homeschool student? How has that been for him?
Well, it depends on which son. So my first son was a homeschool child. So basically he was homeschooled up until till he got to 1st grade. So he was the early homeschooler. He went through school that entire way up. He had no, I didn't need to. I actually pulled my middle one out because I needed to. I didn't feel like the school was taking care of him. And so I had to take it in my hand and take care of him. I said, this child is too bright for him to be stigmatized into, his behavior. So I said, no, what he needs is some discipline. And he needs some good education. That's it. And by the time I got done with him, he was behaved. And he was always very smart, you know.
We find that in our community where a lot of our boys are put on the IEP program. And when you pull them out, they're the first, like we went through that. My nephews, when they were pulled out of school, because they were on the IEP program, the school started calling the mom like, hey, where's your kid? But their sister was never on the IEP program, so they never called to find out where she was. They only called to check on those boys who had the IEP. So
because of, and I said I hate to go here, but the funding, you know, I won't even get too deep on that and what we've. I'm gonna keep my mouth quiet. But at the end of the day, I had to take his education into my own hands because they wanted to do otherwise. When I looked at the room that they wanted to put him in, and I looked at the state of those children that were present in the room, and and what they were suggesting we do with him and give to him, I said, no, we're not doing that one. What we're going to do is we're going to try at least put forth our best effort and try to discipline him, because he wasn't misbehaving at home.
Right.
He was misbehaving at school because he knew he could get away with that. And I was like, see, and I had to, I was at Mom, I'm gonna come up to the school, I'm gonna sit there and let's go see what happened here today. And I watched, and this child really was disrespecting these teachers. I was like, I really hated him. And so I had to get him. I got him and I said, well, guess what? Now Mommy's gonna be your teacher. And he stayed home with me and we worked every day. And there was no there was no information that he didn't soak up. And we worked together. Whatever he wasn't proficient in, we had the time to work through it. And he had his schedule and he was doing chores. I was like, see, if you had behaved, so he would do his schoolwork, and then he had his home domestic work. He had to learn some things at home. And then we had the free time in the day. So there are some moms that, they probably don't know how to navigate the homeschool aspect. I know when I was a homeschooler, my family looked at me like, what are you doing? Who does that?
Actually going to that next, like a little bit of transparency around the fogginess of like, what the heck am I doing?
Oh yeah, I went through that.
How do I let go of the, regular day-to-day 8 to 5 or 8 to 3 schedule? Like, how do I teach my child in their own element?
And that was tough because there's a comfort zone in that you don't realize. There's a security in, they go to school, and so me stepping out and doing that and coming from the background that I come from, I'm Jamaican, my background, and then, and no one does this in our culture, and who does this? That's, they have these labels. So-and-so does this. What are you doing? And it made me feel really bad. And I honestly, I didn't even want to tell anybody. I kept it so private as much as I could, but I knew this was the best option for him. I prayed about it, and this is the way in which he led me. And he led me to so many other homeschooling moms. I had no idea there was such a huge community of homeschooling moms, and they homeschooled all the way up to college, which that was like a big thing for me. And they helped me. You find a network, and they helped me, and we stay connected to this day. And I think our first experience was one. I think coming from the mindset of feeling like, oh, you have to have this insane regimen from 9 to 2. You gotta do it now. Yeah. The whole point is, are you educating them, and are you giving them the things that they need for their age? So I had to do a lot of that research, and the moms helped me. They helped me to tap into the resources. But like I said, we have someone, she's an expert homeschooling mom, and she will help any homeschooling mom find those resources, figure out how you register with your state. Because I had to go through that. Yep. I had to register with the state. I had to become an actual homeschool. I had to learn the rules. I had to learn about testing and what grade they should be testing at. I had to find the best materials for literacy, for math, and for writing. And I had to learn where the resources were. And at a cost-effective, way, because it was coming out of my pocket now, and the things that are available now weren't available to me back then. I wish, I used to say, man, if that money that they got going to the schools, would come, there's so much I could do for him. Like, I was like, I could get him this book, I could get him this, I could sign him up for that. There's so much I wanted to do, but financially, there was just so many barriers. So I had to work with what I had to get him educated. I knew I wanted it to be reading, writing, math, science. I knew the generals. But I think what changed the game for me was linking up with co-ops, linking up with other moms, and having him around other kids. Because the big thing was socialization. If you can educate him at home, but how are you going to socialize him? So I joined homeschooling co-ops, and you go there and moms are there with their other kids, and different moms teach different subjects. I taught Spanish. I had another mom, she taught history, and another mom taught music, and another one taught science, and we swapped rooms, and it was awesome. And so he was in a smaller setting, and he got so much out of it. One taught gym, so he did everything. And then I made sure I also put him in an extracurricular activity too, two
Nice.
of them. So he was in Taekwondo and I don't remember else what he was in. But my daughter, the same thing. I made sure she was in gymnastics and Girl Scouts. So we kept them social. They didn't lose the social aspect. It was just at our pace and at our choice. And so I'm so thankful for the experience we did have. I think it was a good one. I would not change what we chose to do. So that's really it in our story. You know, I'd encourage any homeschooling mom or family to don't get overwhelmed. Have fun with that baby. I mean, there's so many great conversations you guys can have. Man, I had this boy read a nursing book. He's like, Mama, what's that? What's that? It's so fun. So, you know, you can find resources, get your major subjects in, you know, get your research and choose what you want. You have the freedom after that to choose what you want. Right now, I told you they spent their summer and I said, fine, you guys are not in school, but you're going to come out of this summer producing something. Yep. So you're going to come out with a language. You're going to be speaking more of another language, number one. And number two, you're all going to learn an instrument because the instruments are sitting here, but nobody's playing. But you're on Fortnite and you're on Roblox and you're on this. Forget all of that. So the music hour in our house is 4:30. Everybody, you get on, you know, your music. And my daughter's playing. She's playing a couple of songs now. And, you know, Nate's here. He's playing the bass. And AJ just got his drums today. So he's been waiting because it took a long time to ship. But, you know.
Everything is right now. We're still waiting on the table.
Oh, my gosh. So, you know, and the awesome piece, you know, they're not in school, but one of the things we noticed, you know, with the center and with summer is the kids were at home and they were gaining a little bit of weight there. And so we had to develop a quick nutrition program, a quick workout program, and we got everybody a sport equipment. You are in here, here's a skateboard.
Nice.
Here's some roller skates. We done bought y'all 2 bikes. Here's some bikes. So you're going to spend 1 hour outside, social distance, all you want, but you're going to be outside. And so this has been a blessing in a sense that it's returned us back to the very thing that we felt was missing. We like kids don't go outside a lot. Families don't talk a lot. Well, we indoors, so we family talking. And now the kids are outside because they got us, you know, so there's just, it's been good, even though it's been hard for many at the same time.
Yes, well, Tish, we greatly appreciate you spreading your knowledge and your experience, and I'm sure people will be visiting those websites. And if you have a email address even that you accept questions or a way that people can contact you, also put that in the comments, and I'll share that out with the viewers on tonight.
Absolutely. They can reach us at the website. There is a comment box and our secretary, she sends everything over and we'll definitely get those questions answered. And if they need to reach me directly, our emails are on there. They can email me just the same. I can put that in here.
Awesome. Because you guys are doing some major things. You got the Learning Center, you got the K-12 program, you got a lot going on. And so I'm sure that the community appreciates all the work that you and your team are putting out there.
Indeed. There's so much that we're currently even working on in healthcare, and we just want to make a difference. One of the scriptures that I tend to hold to is in Psalm 127. It says, "Children are as arrows in the hand of the mighty." And so, if you have a child and that child's like an arrow, where are you shooting that child? Where are you aiming that arrow? You know, intentionally. How are we intentionally raising these children?
Yes.
You know, and so it's important for those that are not faith based. Either way, you know, they wake up in the morning. I'm like, don't just start your day with the TV and Fortnite. Here, I gave them a devotion chart. And I said, it's very simple. And I broke it down for them. And they go through their devotion chart and they do it in the day and they do it in the night. But just giving them something to value, just something to help them to start their day and start it well. And I'm just hoping that all families, you know, can really find a course together, come together and really start to navigate where they want to go and not let the rest of the world begin to navigate where you want your family to go. So We're enjoying them.
My mom says that's a powerful scripture.
God bless your mother.
Yes. I don't see anybody asking any questions, but maybe after they watch the video again, they might have some questions and put them in the comment section. But most people are probably gonna be going through the websites and seeing what you guys offer and contacting you directly.
Indeed. It was a pleasure to be on, and I hope for all families all the best.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For South Carolina by Black Locally, and my girlfriend Tish Fields of North Carolina, who is killing the homeschool educational whatever path. Everything is out in the right direction. She is here for it. So we want to say thank you so much, Queen, for all that you do.
You're welcome. God bless you all. Take care.
All right. See you guys later.
SCBBL show. Rock on. Rock.